On the 23rd of May 1992, the world was shocked when a famous Italian judge and his wife got murdered by the blast in Capaci, Italy. The world was shocked that the victim in the explosion was a 53-year-old judge. His name was Giovanni Falcone. Giovanni Falcone was born on 18th of May 1939 in the cities of Pomelo, Kingdoms of Italy, to the middle-class Sicilian family in the La Castrofilippo near the seaport district of La Costa, a neighborhood of central Pomelo. During that time, it's the World War II. The United States invaded Sicily to be free from Nazis and fascist Italy. His parents emphasized the importance of hard work, bravery, and patriotism. He later said they expected the maximum from him. Falcone would get into fights with larger children at school if he told his friends were being picked on. A boy whom he played ping pong in the neighborhood Catholic Action Recreation Center would later become a notorious gangster. Still, mafiosos were not a significant presence in his childhood. Falcone and Borsellino, born in the same neighborhood, played soccer together under Paisa Magnone. Both had classmates who ended up as mafioso. Falcone grew up at a time when Sicilians did not acknowledge the existence of the Mafia as a coherent, organized group, as threatened to the contrary by other Italians were often seen as attack from the north. Nevertheless, he studied law at the University of Pomelo, following by a brief studies period at Livorno Naval Academy. Falcone and Borsellino meet again at Pomelo University, while Falcone drove away from his parents' middle-class conservative Catholicism toward communism. Borsellino was religious and traditional. In his youth, he was a member of the Fronte Univacio de Acción Naciones of FUN, a right-wing university organization affiliated with the neo-fascist Movimento Sociale Italiano. In 1961, he graduated from the universities and began to practice law before being appointed a judge in 1964. He eventually gravitated towards penal laws after serving as a district magistrate. He was assigned to the prosecutor's office in Trapani and Marsala, and then in 1978 to the bankruptcy court in Pomelo. In early 1980s, Falcone joined the Office of Instruction, the investigative branch of the prosecution office of Pomelo. He started to work at an anticipated moment only 2 months earlier. On 27th of July 1979, Boris Giuliano has been assassinated by the Mafia. Boris Giuliano was the police chief of the city of Pomelo, investigating heroin trafficking by the mafias, headed by Rosario Spatola and Salvatore Interezzo. Falcone learns how the Mafia was working, such as smuggling heroin from Eastern Europe, primarily Turkey, into Italy, and illegal things that the Mafia did. At the end of 1981, he finalized the Spatola case for trial, which enables the prosecutions to win 74 convictions based on Falcone's web of solid evidence, banks and travel records, says heroin shipment, fingerprints, and handwriting analyzed. Wiretaps conversations and first-hand testimony proved that Sicily had replaced France as the principal gateway to refining and exporting heroin into the US. And then Giovanni Falcone will meet an informant against the Mafia. In 1984, Tommasio Buscetta and Salvatore Cortona turned informants for the Italian government. They meet Giovanni Falcone and give information about the Mafia and their activities to Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. After Giovanni and Paolo have evidence against the Mafia, the trials began. The trials was called the Max Trial and confirmed to be one of the most biggest trials in post-World War II Italy. In conclusion, all 338 people were sentenced to 2,665 years after the trial. Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino entered the witness protection program, but the mafiosos wanted retaliations against these two.
The largest trial in Italian history began today in a Palermo, Sicily courtroom. It had all the makings of a major motion picture. But as NBC's Bonnie Anderson reports now, this was real life, the real Mafia.
The accused gangsters were seated in 27 cages along the far wall of the $43 million courtroom. It was the first time many of them had seen each other since their arrest. With almost 500 defendants, 400 lawyers, and 200,000 documents, the trial is expected to take more than a year. The trial grew out of an investigation begun in 1982 by Italy's top mafia fighter, Carlo Alberto della Chiesa. He uncovered evidence of a new, deadlier mafia, greedy over billion-dollar drug profits. 6 months later, he was killed. The state star witness is Tommaso Buscetta, the most senior godfather ever to break the mafia code of silence, omertà. His confession led to hundreds of arrests here and in the United States. Among the charges, murder, kidnapping, and drug trafficking. 5,000 students marched through Palermo Saturday, urging the authorities to continue their fight against organized crime. But perhaps even more revealing, hundreds of construction workers held a public rally a day earlier in support of the mob. To them, the mafia means jobs. For centuries, Sicilian gangs have controlled virtually all forms of commerce here. They are the employers, the owners. Many people here doubt the police will ever be able to rid Sicily of organized crime. The authorities, they say, are fighting more than the mafia. They're fighting tradition. Bonnie Anderson, NBC News, Palermo.
On the 23rd of May 1992, on Highway A29, close to Capaci, Sicily, Giovanni Falcone and his wife drove on the car. Then, the bomb was blasted. 5 people were dead, including Giovanni Falcone and his wife. No one survived. 2 months later, Paolo Borsellino died from the explosion in Via di Amelio. One of the victims was Emanuela Lo. She was the first female Italian police who was killed by the blast. But there was one of the informants against the mafia. She was a 17-year-old young woman called Rita Atra, committed suicide after she knowing that the mafia murdered Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. In 1993, the police captured one of the men behind the maniac, Salvatore Rina. Salvatore Rina was convicted of various crimes including terrorism and murder. He was sentenced to life in prison and died at the age of 97 years old in 2017.
Salvatore Rina depone un mese dopo essere stato catturato.
È mai stato durante la sua latitanza? È mai stato in territorio?
Signor Pubblico Ministero, non diciamo latitanza perché ero un libero cittadino, andavo a lavorare, quindi durante
Il periodo in cui si è trovato in stato di irreperibilità, poi ci sono stati tutta una serie di mandati di cattura, nel tempo quindi si è trasformato in latitante, in tutto questo periodo.
Ma latitante, ma io andavo a lavorare.
È mai risieduto in territorio di San Giuseppe Jato?
No, non sono stato mai in territorio di San Giuseppe Jato.
Lei dove è stato? Il tutto sempre in territorio di Palermo, della città di Palermo?
Ma in parte in territorio di Palermo, in parte in Trapani. Quando lavorava a Trapani stava lì a Trapani.
Senta, lei quando ha rifiutato il confronto, cioè ha rifiutato di sottoporsi al confronto, ha detto io non voglio essere sottoposta a confronto con Buscetta perché non è della mia statura, è uno che ha troppe amanti. Ma lei che cosa ne sa?
Non ho detto amante, ho detto anche tante mogli.
Tante mogli, tante donne, vabbè.
E io posso dire...
E che ne sa lei?
Io posso dire che l'ho letto nei giornali, perché tutte le riviste e tutti i giornali le portano. Poi, signor Presidente, come mio nonno, parto di mio nonno, che io quando mi riferisco di moralità parlo della mia famiglia. Mio nonno è rimasto vedovo a 40 anni e aveva 5 figli con papà e non ha cercato più moglie, non ha sposato. E mia madre è rimasta vedova a 36 anni, quindi noi viviamo nel nostro paese di correttezza morale.
Lei aveva chiesto il confronto con tutte le persone.
Aveva chiesto, ora ho letto queste cose, signor giudice, e non voglio fare più confronti con questo signore.
Cosa è successo nel frattempo, da quando è stato interrogato la prima volta ad oggi, perché lei rifiuti questo confronto?
Signor giudice,
E decida di non discolparsi, quindi dalle accuse
signor
che
giudice, io sono pure anche, ho diritto a non rispondere, non voglio rispondere, è un mio diritto, non è che lei mi può imporre di rispondere.
Nessuno le può imporre di rispondere a Buscetta.
Signor giudice, è inutile che insiste, perché lei non ha niente da insistere. Io l'ho spiegato che non voglio fare i confronti, ho il mio diritto e quindi mi ottengo il mio diritto di non fare.
Come avete visto, il presidente della Corte, Agnello, stringe con vigore il braccio della collega, un gesto istintivo, paterno, che ovviamente non impedirà al presidente e alla sua Corte di condannare all'ergastolo il padrino, ma l'episodio è rivelatore del livello di tensione che c'è in aula in quel momento. Si tratta del confronto tra il capo dei capi e il veterano dei pentiti, Tommaso Buscetta, che replica così al capo mafia.
Io ho il diritto di parlare?
Certo, può dire tutto quello che vuole e puoi chiedergli tutto quello che vuole.
Io questo signore lo conosco, lui ha deciso tutti gli omicidi che sono successi nel siciliano, tutti, anche quelli della provincia, di altre province, non solo della provincia di Palermo. Lei, non sono più solo io che parlo, adesso è una marea di gente che parla. Mafia è finita.
In recognition of their tireless efforts and sacrifice during the anti-mafia trial, they were both awarded the Italian Medaglia d'Oro a Vale Civile, or Gold Medal for Civil Valor. They were also named as Heroes of the Last 60 Years on the 13th of November 2006. Issues of time. And that is the video. If some part is inaccurate, I am sorry about it. And please like, share, and subscribe to the Backhand Man production. And goodbye.